Hey there, travel junkies and maple syrup enthusiasts, welcome to the channel that's about to take you on a wild ride through the Great White North. Get ready to trade in your swim trunks for parkas and your margaritas for, well, more maple syrup. We're about to dive headfirst into the coolest, most happening cities and towns this side of the igloo. We're talking bustling cityscapes, breathtaking natural wonders, and nightlife that'll make you forget all about that time you swore off poutine. Spoiler alert, you'll be back for more. So strap on your snowshoes, grab a double-double, and get ready to explore the best that Canada has to offer. Let's go! First up, we're hitting up Vancouver, a city so picturesque it makes even the most cynical Instagram influencer swoon. And trust me, I've seen some serious influencer fatigue in my day. We're kicking things off at Stanley Park, a sprawling urban oasis that's basically the love child of Central Park and a rainforest. Think towering trees, serene beaches, and enough bike paths to make your quads scream for mercy. But wait, there's more! Keep your eyes peeled for the famous Siwash Rock, a towering rock formation that's steeped in First Nations legend. And if you're lucky, you might even spot a family of raccoons who are basically the park's unofficial welcoming committee. Don't worry, they're more interested in your snacks than your soul. Probably. Next up, we're hopping over to Granville Island, a vibrant marketplace that's like a sensory explosion in the best possible way. Get ready to feast your eyes on colorful stalls overflowing with fresh produce, artisan cheeses, and enough seafood to make Aquaman jealous. And don't even get me started on the bakery section. The smell of freshly baked bread alone is enough to make you want to move in. But Granville Island is more than just a foodie's paradise. You'll also find quirky boutiques, street performers juggling chainsaws, probably not, but wouldn't that be awesome? And enough live music to satisfy even the pickiest hipster. Just try not to spend all your money on artisanal pickles and handcrafted dream catchers. It's a real struggle, trust me. Alright folks, buckle up because we're heading east to Toronto, the bustling metropolis that's basically Canada's answer to New York City. And what better way to kick things off than with a trip up the iconic CN Tower. This towering behemoth is a rite of passage for any visitor to Toronto, offering jaw-dropping panoramic views that will make you feel like you're on top of the world. And for those of you who like to live life on the edge, literally, there's the Edge Walk, a terrifyingly exhilarating experience that involves walking around the outside of the tower on a 1.8-meter wide platform. Just try not to look down. Seriously, don't. You're welcome. Next up, we're trading in skyscrapers for something a little more, shall we say, educational. That's right, folks. We're heading to the Royal Ontario Museum, also known as the ROM to us cool kids. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ryan, a museum? Seriously? But trust me on this one, this isn't your grandma's dusty old museum. This place has got it all dinosaur bones that would make Ross Geller weep with envy. Ancient Egyptian mummies that are both fascinating and slightly creepy, and enough cultural artifacts to make your head spin. Plus, they've got a killer gift shop where you can stock up on all your dinosaur-themed souvenirs. Because who doesn't need a T-Rex bottle opener? Montreal. Just saying it sounds fancy, right? Like a sophisticated French villain who challenges you to a fencing duel. But instead of a duel, you get amazing food, cobblestone streets, and charm that'll make you say, ooh la la, more times than you can count. First up, Old Montreal. Picture this. Historic buildings, charming cafes, horse-drawn carriages. It's like stepping into a time machine, but with better coffee and less smallpox. Seriously, you can practically smell the history here. And the croissants. Don't even get me started on the croissants. You can wander through the charming streets, grab a coffee at a sidewalk cafe, and pretend you're a character in a French New Wave film. Don't forget to practice your best existential angst face for the full effect. Bonus points if you can rock a beret without looking like a tourist. And hey, if you get tired of all the history and charm, impossible, I know, there are tons of trendy boutiques and art galleries to explore. Just try not to max out your credit card, alright? I'm just looking out for you. Next up, let's climb Mount Royal. Don't worry, you don't need to be a mountain goat to get to the top. There's a winding road and even a shuttle bus for those who prefer to arrive in style. Or, you know, out of breath. No judgment here. From the summit, you'll be rewarded with breathtaking views of the city skyline and the St. Lawrence River. On a clear day, you can see all the way to Vermont. Okay, maybe not, but you can definitely see a really long way. Bring your selfie stick and prepare for some epic Instagram envy. But Montreal isn't just about historic charm and scenic views. It's also a city that knows how to party. We're talking festivals galore. From the world-renowned Montreal Jazz Festival to the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. Trust me, this city knows how to have a good time. So pack your dancing shoes, your appetite for adventure, and maybe even a phrase book, just in case your French is a little rusty. Montreal's waiting. Get ready to say bonjour to Quebec City, a place so charming you'll swear you've wandered into a European fairy tale. But instead of gingerbread houses, you'll find cobblestone streets, historic architecture, and enough poutine to satisfy even the hungriest Canadian. And trust me, that's a lot of poutine. First stop, Old Quebec, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that's basically a time capsule of European history. We're talking narrow streets, fortified walls, and buildings that date back centuries. It's like walking through a history book, but with less dust and more opportunities to buy maple syrup souvenirs. And speaking of history, you can't miss the iconic Chateau Frontenac. This grand hotel has been overlooking the city for over a century, and it's said to be the most photographed hotel in the world. So, you kinda have to take a selfie with it. It's practically a law. But Old Quebec isn't just about history. It's also home to charming boutiques, art galleries, and cafes where you can indulge in a croissant and pretend you're fluent in French. Just nod along and say oui a lot, you'll be fine. Now let's talk about the Quebec Winter Carnival. If you thought Canadians were just a bunch of polite, maple syrup-loving folks, think again. This epic celebration of all things winter is where things get wild. We're talking ice sculptures, snow slides, parades, and enough winter activities to make even a polar bear say, okay, maybe it's a little too cold out here. And of course, no Canadian festival would be complete without a healthy dose of poutine and beaver tails. Don't worry, no actual beavers are harmed in the making of this delicious pastry. But Quebec City isn't just about winter fun. It's a city with a rich history and culture that's evident in its architecture, its art scene, and even its food. You can explore museums, art galleries, and historical sites, or simply wander the streets and soak up the unique atmosphere. So pack your warmest coat, brush up on your French, or just download a translation app, and get ready to experience the magic of Quebec City. Trust me, it's an adventure you won't soon forget. Alright folks, buckle up because we're heading to Ottawa, Canada's capital city. And no, it's not all politics and boring meetings, although we'll get to the Parliament Hill part in a minute. Ottawa's got a cool vibe, beautiful scenery, and enough museums and galleries to make your inner history buff do a happy dance. First up, the big cheese, the main event, Parliament Hill. This architectural masterpiece is home to Canada's government, but don't worry, it's way more interesting than it sounds. Think soaring towers, Gothic details, and a whole lot of history. It's like Hogwarts, but for politicians instead of wizards. Now you can't go to Parliament Hill without catching the changing of the guard ceremony. It's a Canadian tradition full of pomp and circumstance and red-suited guards who take their jobs very seriously. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've seen someone rock a bearskin hat with that much swagger. And the best part, it's free. Yeah, you heard that right, you can soak up all that history and pageantry without spending a dime. Just try not to trip over any politicians on your way out, they can be a little slippery. Okay, enough about politics, let's talk about something way more fun art. Ottawa is home to some seriously impressive museums and galleries, starting with the National Gallery of Canada. This place has it all: European masters, contemporary art, indigenous art, you name it. It's like a crash course in art history, but way more fun than your high school textbook. Plus, they have a giant spider sculpture outside, which is always a good conversation starter. Now, if you're visiting in the winter, you have to check out the Rideau Canal. This UNESCO World Heritage Site transforms into the world's largest skating rink every winter, stretching over 7 kilometers. It's like a winter wonderland, except you can rent skates instead of sleighs. And don't worry if you're not an Olympic skater, they have beaver tails and hot chocolate to keep you warm and happy. And hey, if you need a break from all the culture and outdoor adventures, Ottawa has a surprisingly cool nightlife scene. Think trendy bars, live music venues, and restaurants serving up everything from poutine to pho. It's the perfect way to unwind after a long day of exploring Canada's capital city. Alright, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're hitting Calgary where the cowboys ain't just in those old movies your grandpa watches. First stop, the Calgary Zoo. And before you ask, yes, they have penguins. Penguins in Canada. It's like Mother Nature's way of saying, hold my beer, eh? But it ain't all feathered friends and awkward waddles. We're talking gorillas, tigers, and enough exotic animals to make you question if you accidentally wandered onto the set of the next Madagascar. Next up, Heritage Park. Think Westworld, but with fewer robots going haywire and more butter churning. This place is a time machine, teleporting you back to when cowboys roamed free and Instagram filters involved actual dust. You can pan for gold, ride a steam train, and if you're lucky, maybe even learn how to churn that butter I mentioned. Just, try not to eat the props. Now, you didn't think we'd visit Calgary without mentioning the Calgary Stampede, did you? It's basically the Super Bowl of rodeos with more Stetsons than a Toby Keith concert. We're talking bull riding, barrel racing, and enough deep-fried food to clog the arteries of a small country. But Calgary ain't all hay bales and cowboy boots. Once the sun sets, this city really knows how to party. We're talking live music venues hopping like a jackrabbit on a hot date, pubs with more craft beers than you can shake a hockey stick at, and enough energy to power a small city, or at least a really, really big disco ball. So whether you're looking to two-step the night away or just soak up some good old-fashioned Canadian hospitality, Calgary's nightlife won't disappoint. Just, maybe lay off the mechanical bull after a few pints. Trust me on that one. Edmonton, land of the midnight sun. And also, a mall so big, it has its own zip code. Okay, maybe not a zip code, but seriously, West Edmonton Mall is like if Willy Wonka designed a shopping center. We're talking an amusement park, a water park because indoor surfing is totally a thing, an ice rink, and enough stores to make your credit card beg for mercy. And hey, if shopping ain't your thing, you monster, you can always check out the sea lions. Yep, you heard that right. Sea lions, living their best life in a mall. It's weirdly wonderful. But wait, there's more. Edmonton's got history too. And no, I'm not talking about the history of that pretzel stand you're eyeing. Next stop, Fort Edmonton Park. Travel back in time to the fur trading days and experience life before Amazon Prime and instant gratification. You can walk the streets of a recreated fort, learn about indigenous culture, and maybe even try your hand at blacksmithing. Just try not to hit your thumb. Blacksmithing, not as easy as it looks, but Edmonton ain't stuck in the past. This city's got a vibrant arts and culture scene, with more festivals than you can shake a hockey stick at. We're talking music, theater, food, you name it. Edmonton's got a festival for it. So, put on your party pants and get ready to experience a city that's got it all. From history buffs to shopaholics to festival fanatics, Edmonton's got something for everyone. Ahoy, mateys! Set sail for Halifax, the jewel of Canada's east coast. And no, before you ask, you won't need your sea legs, unless you're prone to getting seasick from looking at pictures of boats, because the Halifax waterfront is a sight to behold. We're talking historic wharves, salty air, and enough fresh seafood to make your mouth water. Grab a lobster roll, soak up the harbor views, and try to resist the urge to burst into a rousing rendition of What Shall We Do with a Drunken Sailor? But Halifax is more than just a pretty face. This city's got history. And I'm not just talking about that time I tried to buy a pirate ship with a pocket full of Canadian tire money. Next up, Citadel Hill. This star-shaped fortress ain't just a pretty face, it's a time capsule, taking you back to Halifax's days as a British military stronghold. Explore the ramparts, watch the noon gun firing, earplugs optional, and maybe even learn a thing or two about Halifax's role in the American Revolution. And speaking of history, you can't visit Halifax without delving into its maritime past. The Maritime Museum of the Atlantic is home to Titanic artifacts, tales of shipwrecks, and enough nautical knowledge to make you walk out talking like a salty sea dog. But don't think Halifax is stuck in the past. This city knows how to party. From traditional pubs with live Celtic music to trendy bars serving up craft cocktails, Halifax's nightlife is as vibrant and diverse as its history. So hoist the sails and set course for Halifax. Just, maybe leave the pirate costumes at home, unless you're really committed to the bit. Alright, hosers and hoserettes, buckle up. We're headed to Victoria, British Columbia, a city so charming it makes even Wolverine crack a smile. Think London vibes, but with way friendlier squirrels and a serious lack of Hugh Jackman. First stop, Butchart Gardens. And no, it's not some dude named Butch's backyard. Picture 55 acres of blooming flowers, magical fountains, and enough Instagram-worthy backdrops to make your followers weep with envy. Seriously, you'll need an extra memory card for your phone. Next up, let's get our history nerd on at the Royal BC Museum. We're talking dinosaur bones, First Nations artifacts, and enough fascinating exhibits to make you feel like Indiana Jones. Without the fear of snakes. Because seriously, those things are the worst. And if you're lucky, you might even spot a pod of orcas frolicking in the inner harbor. Nothing says welcome to Victoria like a bunch of majestic whales breaching right before your very eyes. Don't worry, I'm sure they'll wave. They owe me a favor. Now let's talk food, glorious food. Specifically, afternoon tea at the Empress Hotel. Because nothing says I'm fancy like sipping tea from delicate china while nibbling on cucumber sandwiches. Don't worry, they have regular sandwiches too, for us normal folk. But the real fun begins when you hop aboard a harbor ferry. Feel the wind in your hair, unless you're bald like me, then you'll just feel the wind. As you cruise past charming houseboats, picturesque parks, and maybe even a seal or two. Just try not to fall overboard, okay? It's happened to the best of us. And when the sun starts to set, head to the Inner Harbor Causeway for some epic buskers, street performers, and a lively atmosphere that'll make you want to dance like nobody's watching. Even if you look like you're fighting off a swarm of bees. Trust me, I've been there. So there you have it, folks. Victoria. The perfect blend of history, nature, and good old-fashioned Canadian charm. Just be sure to pack an umbrella. It's called the Garden City for a reason, and those flowers need their water. Hold on to your toques, everyone, because we're about to enter a real-life postcard Banff National Park. Get ready for snow-capped peaks, turquoise lakes that'll make your eyes pop, and more wildlife than you can shake a hockey stick at. First up, Lake Louise. And trust me, it's even more breathtaking in person than any Instagram filter could ever capture. We're talking crystal clear water reflecting towering mountains, glaciers that'll make you shiver with awe, and a sense of serenity so profound, you might just start speaking in haiku. But here's the thing about Lake Louise. Every year, tourists mysteriously vanish into thin air. Okay, not really. But with over 5 million visitors annually, it can feel like it. So, my advice? Ditch the crowds and hike to the tea house on the Lake Agnes Trail. You'll thank me later. And if you're feeling extra adventurous, rent a canoe and paddle your way to tranquility. Just watch out for the resident wildlife. Those mountain goats may look cute, but they're surprisingly good at stealing picnic baskets. Now, after all that hiking and exploring, your muscles are probably screaming for mercy. Good thing Banff has just the cure, the Banff Upper Hot Springs. These natural mineral springs have been soothing sore muscles since, like, forever. And rumor has it, they can also cure a hangover. Not that I'd know anything about that. Imagine this. You're soaking in steaming hot water, surrounded by snow-capped peaks, snowflakes gently falling on your face. It's basically the most Canadian spa day ever. Just try not to fall asleep and drool in the water. Again, not that I'd know anything about that. But Banff isn't just about relaxation. It's also about adventure. Go whitewater, rafting down the Kicking Horse River, soar through the air on a gondola ride, or channel your inner daredevil with some rock climbing. Just maybe leave the superhero landings to me, okay? And if you're lucky, you might even spot some of the local wildlife. We're talking elk, bears, bighorn sheep, the whole Canadian wilderness gang. Just remember, admire them from a safe distance, unless it's a squirrel. Those little guys are all bark and no bite. Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored towering mountains, vibrant cities, and enough natural beauty to make even the most jaded traveler weep with joy. Canada, you've officially outdone yourself. But the adventure doesn't have to end here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of Discover Canada's top cities and towns. We've got a whole lot more exploring to do, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single breathtaking moment. Until next time, stay adventurous, stay curious, and most importantly, stay away from those rogue squirrels. They're up to something, I can feel it.